Aimee Semple McPherson was a star. She was famous in the 1920s. A big evangelist, people loved her. She built a huge church in Los Angeles. It was called Evangelist Temple. Thousands went there every Sunday. She was like a celebrity. People packed the place to hear her preach. She was good at it. She used drama and showmanship. She rode motorcycles onto the stage. She wore white robes. She preached with fire. She healed people, or so they said. She was a pioneer of radio evangelism, too. Her voice went out to many homes. She was a household name. This was a time of big change in America. The Roaring Twenties. Women had new freedoms. Cars were common. Movies were popular. And jazz music played. Aimee fit right in. She was modern. She was charismatic. She brought religion to the masses in a new way. She was also a target for criticism. Some called her a showwoman. Some thought her methods were not proper for a preacher. But her followers did not care. They adored her. She offered hope. She offered healing. She offered entertainment. Her life was never quiet. There was always something happening. And then in 1926, something very big happened. Something that shook her world. Something that made headlines everywhere. Something that people still talk about today. It was a mystery, a puzzle, a scandal. Her name was everywhere. She disappeared. People wondered where she went. Was she kidnapped? Did she run away? The story got stranger and stranger. Aimee Semple McPherson was born in Canada. Her mother was a Salvation Army worker. Aimee grew up with religion around her. She became a preacher young. She traveled a lot. She had 2 marriages. Both ended. She had 2 children. She was a single mother. She was a strong woman. She moved to Los Angeles in 1918. She started small. Then she built Evangelist Temple. It opened in 1923 and held over 5,000 people. It had a rotating cross on top. It was a landmark. Her services were lively. They had full orchestras, choirs, costumes, stage props. She preached the Foursquare Gospel. It focused on Jesus as Savior, Healer, Baptizer, and Coming King. She was a master storyteller. She knew how to connect with people. She drew people from all walks of life, rich and poor. She helped the needy. She ran a commissary. She gave out food and clothes. She was seen as a saint by many. She was a hero. Her face was known. Her voice was recognized. She lived a busy life, always working, always traveling, always preaching. She rarely took a break. And she had her critics, lots of them. They watched her, they listened to her, they reported on her. The weather in Los Angeles was warm in May 1926. It was a hot time for Aimee. She was getting ready for a big revival. A lot of pressure was on her. She had been working hard, maybe too hard. She was tired. People saw her looking tired. Her staff saw it. Her mother saw it. There were rumors, too. Rumors about her private life. She was a public figure. Everyone talked about her. The newspapers loved to print stories about her. Good or bad, she was box office. On May 18th, 1926, she went to Venice Beach. It was a Tuesday. She told her secretary she wanted to swim. To relax. She went with her secretary. Her secretary's name was Emma Schaffer. They drove to the beach. Aimee wanted to swim alone. Emma stayed on the sand. Emma watched Aimee go into the water. She watched Aimee swim out. Emma turned away for a moment. Just a moment. When Emma looked back, Aimee was gone. And Emma searched the water. She called out. No answer. Emma got help. Lifeguards came. The police came. A search started right away. People were frantic. Aimee Semple McPherson was gone. The news spread fast. Aimee Semple McPherson was missing. Vanished from the beach. Drowned. People feared. Or worse. The whole city panicked. Los Angeles went into a frenzy. Her followers were heartbroken. They prayed. They cried. They hoped for a miracle. The police started a massive search. Boats went out. Airplanes flew overhead. Divers searched the ocean floor. Thousands of people joined the search. They walked the beaches. They scoured the coastline. Her mother, Minnie Kennedy, was distraught. She begged for Aimee to be found. The story was everywhere. Every newspaper, every radio broadcast. Was it an accident? Did she drown? Or was it something else? Some people wondered. It seemed strange. Aimee was a strong swimmer. How could she just disappear? There were no witnesses. No one saw anything. Just Emma Schaffer, who had looked away. The mystery grew. Days turned into weeks. The search continued, but hope faded. People started to believe she was gone forever. Evangelist Temple held memorial services. Her congregation mourned. Los Angeles was in mourning. It was a tragedy, a famous woman gone too soon, or so it seemed. But not everyone believed it was a simple drowning. The rumors started, whispers. Aimee had been under a lot of stress. Maybe she ran off with someone. There were stories about her personal life. People talked about a man, a radio engineer, Kenneth Ormiston. He worked at the temple, he was married. Had she run off with him? It seemed impossible. Aimee Semple McPherson, the great evangelist, run away with a married man? The thought was scandalous, unthinkable to her followers, but the police were investigating everything. They looked at every angle, they interviewed people, they checked into her life. The search for her body continued, but no body was found. This added to the mystery. If she drowned, where was she? The ocean usually gives up its dead, but Aimee was nowhere. The longer she was missing, the stranger it became. The more questions people asked. The more rumors spread. Los Angeles was gripped by this story. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a theory. The city waited. The nation watched. What happened to Aimee Semple McPherson? The answer would come, but it would be even stranger than her disappearance. It would add another layer to the mystery. It would change her life forever. Then, 5 weeks later, Aimee Semple McPherson reappeared. It was June 23rd, 1926. She was found in Douglas, Arizona, a small town near the Mexican border. She stumbled out of the desert. She was disheveled. She was dirty. Her clothes were torn. Her feet were swollen. She was weak. She looked like she had been through hell. She told a wild story. She said she had been kidnapped, held for ransom. She said 3 strangers took her, a man and 2 women. They grabbed her at the beach. They forced her into a car. They blindfolded her. They drove her for days. They kept her in a shack in the desert. She said she escaped. She broke free. She walked for hours through the desert heat until she reached Douglas. She made it to a house. She asked for help. The people there recognized her. They called the police. News spread like wildfire. Aimee was alive. She was found. The nation exploded. It was a miracle. Her followers rejoiced. Her mother was overjoyed. The story was incredible. It sounded like something from a movie. The police in Douglas, Arizona listened to her story. They took her to a hospital. She was examined. Doctors confirmed she was exhausted and dehydrated. She had blisters on her feet. But she was otherwise okay. The police asked her questions. Many questions. Her story was detailed. She described her captors. She described the shack. She described her escape. She said they wanted $500,000 for her. They called her sister. They said they knew she was rich. She said she fought them. She was brave. She was determined. She said she was tied up. She chewed through her ropes. She got out a window. Then she ran. Her story was compelling. Many people believed her right away. It was what they wanted to hear. The evangelist was a hero. She survived a terrible ordeal. She defied her captors. She came back to them. But some people had doubts right from the start. The police in Los Angeles had already been looking into the kidnapping theory and the running away theory. They had been trying to find Kenneth Ormiston, too, the radio engineer. He had disappeared around the same time as Aimee. That was a strange coincidence. Now, Aimee was back, but Ormiston was still missing. The police in Douglas listened to her. They noted inconsistencies. Her clothes were dirty, but her hair seemed clean. Her story about chewing through ropes was dramatic, but ropes usually leave marks. Her memory of details was sometimes fuzzy, other times very clear. The desert shack she described. It was hard to find a shack like that. They started to poke holes in her story. The public was divided. Some embraced her story completely. Others were suspicious. The newspapers, always looking for a good story, jumped on every detail. They reported everything. The doubt grew. Aimee was brought back to Los Angeles. She had a hero's welcome. Thousands of people lined the streets. They cheered. They threw flowers. They cried tears of joy. Her followers filled Angelus Temple. They celebrated her return. It was a massive spectacle, a huge media event, but the police were still investigating. They pressed her for more details. They tried to verify parts of her story. They couldn't find the shack. They couldn't find the kidnappers. They couldn't find anyone who saw her being taken. The evidence was thin. Her story stood alone, and the police had their own ideas. They had been looking at the Ormiston angle, the missing radio engineer. They found out he had checked into a hotel in Carmel, California. Around the time Aimee disappeared, he had checked in with a woman who called herself Merce McPherson, a woman who looked a lot like Aimee. This was a bombshell. This was a game changer. The kidnapping story was starting to crumble. The police now had a different theory. Aimee did not drown. She was not kidnapped. She ran off with Kenneth Ormiston. They went to Carmel. They spent time together, and when the pressure became too much, when the search got too intense, she concocted the kidnapping story. She faked it to save her reputation, to save her church, to save herself. This was a shocking accusation. It was a huge scandal for a famous evangelist to fake a kidnapping, to run off with a married man. It was an outrage. Her followers were confused and angry. They defended her fiercely. They said the police were persecuting her. They said it was a conspiracy. The police continued their investigation. They found more evidence. Ormiston was found. He eventually admitted to being in Carmel with a woman. He denied it was Aimee at first. Then he changed his story. He was evasive. He was not helpful. The whole situation became a circus. Aimee was now under suspicion. The hero was now a possible fraud. The headline screamed. The world watched. The mystery continued. But now it was a different kind of mystery. A mystery of deception. The investigation into Aimee Semple McPherson's disappearance and reappearance intensified. The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office got involved. They were not satisfied with her kidnapping story. They thought she was lying. They thought she had committed perjury, lying under oath. This was a serious charge. They started to build a case against her. They looked for more proof. They questioned everyone. They looked at phone records. They looked at hotel registers. They spoke to people who knew Aimee and people who knew Kenneth Ormiston. The evidence against her slowly mounted. It was not concrete, but it was circumstantial. One key piece of evidence came from a cabin owner. She said she rented a cabin in Carmel to Ormiston and a woman. She identified the woman as Aimee Semple McPherson. She was sure it was her. This was a big problem for Aimee. Another problem was Aimee's descriptions of her kidnappers. She gave vague details. She often changed them. The police could never find anyone matching her descriptions. The shack she described, no one could find it. The desert itself seemed to contradict parts of her story. How could she walk so far, so quickly, in such heat, with so little damage? These questions plagued her story. A grand jury was convened. This was a big deal. A grand jury decides if there is enough evidence to bring charges. Aimee Semple McPherson was called to testify. Her mother was called. Kenneth Ormiston was called. Many others were called. It was a long, drawn-out process. It was a public spectacle. The reporters were everywhere. People followed every word. Aimee remained steadfast. She insisted her story was true. She maintained she was kidnapped. She denied any involvement with Ormiston. She painted herself as a victim. She stood strong. Her followers stood with her. They packed the courthouse. They prayed for her. They supported her. They believed her. But the pressure was immense. The questions were relentless. The district attorney, Asa Keys, was determined. He wanted to expose what he believed was a hoax. He believed she had faked her kidnapping. He believed she had run off with Ormiston. The grand jury heard all the evidence. They heard the arguments from both sides. They considered the testimony. It was a messy situation. Aimee's lawyers fought hard for her. They tried to discredit the witnesses against her. They pointed out flaws in the police investigation. They argued that she was simply telling her truth, that she was confused from trauma, that she had been through a horrible ordeal. Kenneth Ormiston, the radio engineer, was also under scrutiny. He was a key figure. His testimony was crucial. He was elusive. He changed his story multiple times. He denied, then admitted, then denied again being with Aimee. He was married. His wife was caught in the middle. The scandal ruined his life, too. He eventually admitted to spending time with a woman in Carmel. But he would never definitively say it was Aimee. He tried to protect himself. He tried to protect her. Or maybe he was just trying to confuse everyone. It added to the chaos. It made everything harder to understand. The grand jury deliberated for a long time. They weighed all the evidence. They heard about the conflicting testimonies. They heard about the missing shack. They heard about the hotel records. They heard about the eyewitnesses. They heard about the strong, unwavering faith of her followers, and they heard about the deep suspicion of the police and district attorney. Finally, the grand jury made a decision. They indicted Aimee Semple McPherson.
And her mother.
And Kenneth Ormiston. They were charged with conspiracy to commit acts injurious to public morals and with obstruction of justice. The charges were for faking the kidnapping, for lying, for deceiving the public. This was a monumental moment. Aimee Semple McPherson, the beloved evangelist, was going to stand trial. This was a national scandal of epic proportions. It shook her church. It shocked the nation. The stage was set for a dramatic courtroom battle, but it wouldn't play out as expected. The trial never happened. After months of legal maneuvering and public outcry, the district attorney's office dropped the charges. They said they did not have enough evidence to secure a conviction. They said the conflicting testimonies made it too difficult. The witnesses were unreliable. The case was too complex. They claimed they could not risk a loss in court. This decision surprised many. Some people were relieved. Her followers rejoiced. They saw it as vindication. They believed she was innocent all along. They believed God had protected her. Others were outraged. They felt she had gotten away with it. They believed she was guilty. They believed the powerful evangelist had used her influence. They thought the justice system had failed. The charges were dropped. But Aimee's reputation was forever stained. The public was still divided. Many still believed she faked it. The affair of the desert became a permanent part of her story. It followed her for the rest of her life. It became her most famous scandal. It cast a shadow over her ministry. It was a huge distraction. It took a toll on her. She continued to preach. She continued her ministry at Evangelist Temple. But things were different. The initial shine had dulled. The trust was shaken for some. The controversy never completely went away. The scandal deeply impacted her. It changed how people viewed her. Some of her followers left. Some of her critics became even more vocal. But many stayed. Many remained loyal. They loved her. They believed in her. They felt she was persecuted. They felt she was unfairly targeted. She kept building her church. She kept expanding her radio presence. She continued her mission. But the event left a permanent mark. It was a defining moment in her life. Kenneth Ormiston also suffered. His marriage ended. His career was ruined. He disappeared from public life. His part in the story was never fully explained. He never definitively stated what happened. He took his secrets with him. Her mother, Minnie Kennedy, stood by her daughter through it all. She fought for her. She defended her. Their relationship was complex, but they were a team. They faced the scandal together. Aimee Semple McPherson continued her ministry for many more years. She faced more personal problems, more public scrutiny. She married again. That marriage also ended. She continued to travel. She continued to preach. She founded the International Church of the Foursquare Gospel. It grew into a worldwide denomination. She was still a powerful speaker. She still drew crowds. But the sparkle of her early fame was gone. The innocence was lost. The mystery of her disappearance remained. What really happened that day in May 1926? Did she escape kidnappers, or did she run off with a lover? No one ever truly found out the definitive truth. The answers were buried with her. She died in 1944. Her death itself was controversial, an accidental overdose of sleeping pills. Or was it something else? Even in death, controversy followed her. The story of her disappearance is a classic American mystery. It had all the ingredients: fame, religion, sex, scandal, intrigue. It captivated the nation then. It still fascinates people now. The truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. Perhaps she was under immense pressure. Perhaps she needed a break. Perhaps she had a secret affair. Perhaps the kidnapping story was her way out. A way to save face. A way to avoid ruin. It's hard to say, for sure. The official record says the charges were dropped. It says the truth was never established in court. What remains is a powerful story. A story of a woman who was larger than life. A woman who commanded attention. A woman who lived a life full of drama. A woman whose biggest mystery continues to puzzle us. Aimee Semple McPherson, the evangelist who disappeared, and came back with a story. A story that still sparks debate, a story that still holds secrets. We may never know for certain what happened that day. And maybe that's part of the enduring appeal. The mystery keeps her alive in our minds. It keeps us talking about her. It keeps us wondering. It keeps us asking the same questions. Was she kidnapped, or did she run off? We will likely never know the full, unvarnished truth. The desert kept its secrets, and so did Aimee.